Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the 24th Entrepreneurship Talk Series. The topic for today talk series is Steps for Startup and Funding. And today we have with us Mr. Tushar Kansal. So I'd like to give a brief bio about Tushar Kansal before I hand over the dice to him. Tushar is an accomplished professional, a thought leader, and a thought influencer. He's the founder and CEO of Kansaltancy Ventures. And over the years, Tushar has supported startup and growth stage company in diverse sectors. Tushar is also a venture advisor with a Canadian venture capitalist fund and has made 350 investment in more than 60 countries. His expert opinion is sought by leading business news channels, and currently he's connected with more than 450 plus investors globally and picking up global deals while being sector agnostic. Thank you so much, Tushar, for joining us today. And I hand over the stage to you. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Jayashri. Thank you, Mr. Ganesh, for having me today at your prestigious institution. And I welcome each and every one of you to this talk. So this talk would be about how to set up a startup, what are the lean startup methodology, then beginning with product management, team management, and project management, and then finishing with how to find funding for your startup. So we are trying to cover a lot of things in a small time. So I'll just start with the presentation. And after the presentation, I'll be happy to take any questions you have. Let me just start with the presentation first. Are you able to see my screen? Product, people, and direct management.
It's loading. Just a second. Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. So, when we talk about a startup is a company which has been recently set up. And if you are a generalist, as in you understand a bit of everything, marketing, finance, digital marketing, HR, if you understand a bit about everything, you'll be a successful founder. But what are the core principles? So I thought it would be very nice if I would take you through these principles first. So what actually is a startup? A startup is an organization formed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. The model has to repeat, the business has to scale. And the way we do it is scientifically. We build, we test, we learn from that test, and then we iterate. So this is the process. You must remember, it is not a business yet. It is constant experimentation at what people are willing to pay for. People should be willing to pay for the product or the service you are offering. And it has to be scalable enough so one day it can expand globally. And it makes a lot of sense because we are using technology nowadays. So we have a global market. So if you're launching a website or an app in a Play Store, then if you choose the right configuration, then your app can reach many countries. Now, the number one rule for product development is a lot of you are technologists, so you are very passionate about technology. So you would want to make people buy your things. Like you create something and you say, now I will go ahead and sell it to the people, to the customer, prospective customer. But it doesn't work like that. You have to think in terms of making things which people want. And if you have heard Steve Jobs, then he always talked about always keeping the customer first. For example, Uber is there. If it is not an entertainment, it is a need, and that is something which people want. So when Uber launched in one country, it's gradually expanded to all the countries, and that was because it was a service which people wanted. Now, how do we know what people want? It is by constant research, and research can be primary and secondary. You can go out in the market, get the people to fill a form and answer your questions. Nowadays, Google Form is there, so you can easily send it to a number of people, or you can use Google Trends or Quora, so you can research on the internet. And always remember, in the startup, you have to identify one solid problem, and solve that problem really well. So, you identify your target market. For example, if you want to research about the market, you can use the Indian census data, which is available on the internet, and you'll be able to identify what the crowd wants and how you can provide it to them. Now, when you identify a market and identify a pain point, you have to understand that a problem is something that uh, no one wants. Everyone faces that problem, but no one can avoid it. So you have to choose one problem and always focus on that particular problem, and then identify and scan your market for your target customer group. And For example, entertainment is a need. Entertainment is a need, but lack of comedians is a problem. So, that might be your core focus area. Now, you have to highlight your problem in not more than 10 words. For example, taxi monopolies before Uber came in, they reduced the quality of service, and getting the license was pretty difficult. And there was no incentive or accountability for drivers, and the clients used to face a lot of hassle. Now, how can you write down the solution statement? For example, for Uber, we say it's a fast and efficient on-demand car service. It is the market is professionals in American cities, and it offers you a convenience of a cab in New York City and experience of a professional chauffeur, but in different cities, and so on. For example, my company says that Kansaltancy Ventures helps entrepreneurs accelerate their dreams by means of venture capitals, angel investment, and strategic services. And you should understand that marketing, it starts before the product. So, before you have created the product, you have to market it, get a feedback from people. Those people become your first champions, your product champions, and then they take it forward if they like it, and you improve the product. Now, there's a very famous book, The Lean Startup Methodology. This is the this is a basically a gist of what it says about creating a startup by Lean Startup Methodology. First, you build a minimum viable product. You have an idea, then you do a proof of concept, but then you have to arrive at a product which has the shape of a product. It might be an app, it might be any kind of hardware product, but the first look has to be there. That's called the minimum viable product, and you arrive at it by using market research and then prioritizing the minimum viable features and creating a prototype, like maybe a sketch or a CAD drawing or a 3D print, and then getting the feedback. The second step is product management. You have to again remember to keep a user-centric approach, and the principles which are very famous nowadays in user-centric approach are the agile principles. Uh, Technology development and the minimum viable product is a part of product management. And uh, so, once you have already created a minimum viable product, you have to build, test, get feedback, and iterate. And for example, if you have created an app, you have to watch where are the people clicking, how are they scrolling, where they are spending most of the time. Are they spending most of the time on that particular thing because it's a problem, it is getting stuck? You have to analyze all that data, and that is called a user-centric approach. For example, uh, who is the customer? What product do they actually want? How do you build a scalable business around it? So, that those questions can be answered when you are testing and iterating and taking a feedback. Design thinking is also a user-centric approach to problem solving. You have to create a design which is easy to use and which customers can really understand. After that comes the post-product launch, where you have already launched the product. Now you are realizing that the load time of your app is a bit high. So it has to be not more than 3 seconds. Then you are checking the bounce rate, how many people come and go off and just leave the app. So you have to lower the bounce rate. How many people get retained? So at least 30% of people should be retained and should come back to the app later on. What are the active users, daily active users, monthly active users, weekly active users? All that, you have to use data analytics and solve it. Now, what is innovation? Innovation is comprising of three things: business viability, technology feasibility, and people desirability. Business viability. Suppose, this guy came to me, he said, uh, we can do crypto mining in space because the energy of the sun is available. It is uninterrupted energy, and crypto mining requires a lot of energy. So, he was thinking from a typically scientist perspective. But, what is the cost of uh, setting up that whole apparatus in space? It is mind boggling. So, that business viability has to be there. Second, people desirability. When Uber had come in, then I remember, if you got down at the airport, many times the black and yellow taxi drivers standing there, they started to shout at you, and they would have even beat you up if you choose Uber. So, the ground situation, it should be suitable. That's called people desirability. Now, the third is technology feasibility. So, right now, our e-commerce system in India, the whole ecosystem is fully developed. We can easily get the logistics plugins. We can get digital marketing, and everything is easily available. Geo came in, and now we are one of the highest, rather the highest data consuming country in the world. So before Geo, internet was patchy and very costly. Now the Geo platform is there, which even allowed a lot of other companies to start offering cheap internet service. So the whole ecosystem is there. So technology feasibility comes from there. And from a perspective of a marketer, you have to always remember, suppose you are selling a TV. You are not selling a TV. You are selling happiness, social status, efficiency, and peace of mind. Those are the human attributes which you are selling. For example, Tata came in and offered the cheapest car in the world, Tata Nano. And because it told everybody that it is the cheapest car in the world, nobody bought it. Because for Indians, car is a status symbol. It is a symbol that you have arrived and you switch from a two-wheeler to a car. So the positioning was wrong, and people uh, didn't want to look like a poor social status. So that the very fact that they marketed it as a cheap car became a losing proposition for Tata Nano. Now, what is comprising the iterative product development cycle? You have to empathize, define, ideate, and prototype, and then test again. What happens in ideate and prototype? You use growth hacks. For example, if you understand Instagram's algorithm, you'll be able to put your posts with the right timing, with the right photo attached with it, and marking the right people, and sending that post at the right time. So that is a growth hack. If you understand that LinkedIn wants you to put a selfie with every post, and the gap between two posts should not be 3 hours, then you have hacked the LinkedIn algorithm. And you LinkedIn does not like any external links on the post. So if you have to put an external link, you put it in the comment, the first comment, but you don't put it in the body of the post. So all these things are growth hacks. You can use these hacks to further your product. And always remember that those people who helped you, gave you feedback in your initial research, they become your cheerleaders. Later on, they are the people who will send your product. They will be very happy that they were a part of the journey, and they will send it forward to your first customers. Now, in terms of skilling, we are coming to people management now. If we map it on a graph, people can be qualified as skill or will. Now, those who are unwilling and unable, they don't belong to startups, because startups requires a lot of people who have ownership of work and reliability. uh, those who are willing and unable, like interns, they don't have much knowledge, but they are very willing. They are fine for the grunt work. You give them, once you teach them, they will keep on doing quality work. Then they will say, "Sir, we have already mastered this. Move us to the next." So those people are very good for the grunt work. Now there are unwilling people, but which are able people who are unwilling. Now these type of people, you will feel like throwing them out, but maybe they have some personal problem, so you have to mentor them and make them happy, and talk to them, and provide them some benefits. Maybe they need some facilities in office which they are not getting at home, like maybe the food. And if you convert them to happy people, maybe they're very loyal. And even nowadays, even if a person spends 3 to 5 years at your company, it's a big thing that that person really delivered. And the last is willing and able people. Of course, startups would love to have those people. Now, what should you do if there are 2 to 3 work areas, and should you keep 2 to 3 people? Now you find a person who can handle Facebook. At the same time, this person can also handle SEO. So it's better to keep one person for 2 to 3 jobs and pay him a little bit higher salary, rather than keep more people. And always remember, the founder has to recruit and delegate. Don't try to do everything yourself. You have to delegate, you have to do people management. Whatever non-core activities are there, you just outsource them. For example, some routine digital marketing activities there, or some routine activities there, just outsource it. For example, CA work can be outsourced. A lot of startups don't have full-time CAs. Legal work can be outsourced. So and then uh, personal branding is very important, for which LinkedIn can be very helpful. So if your name comes in the best place to work list, then you will get a lot of talent. People will want to work for you. So your personal branding is very important. You have to hire people who have a growth hacking mindset. India mein they say jugadu mindset. You know, people who find the shortest way to complete an activity. And always hire people who fit in a team and who build teams. And there are times when there are people who are very, very talented and who are brilliant, but they're just not team people. So it's very difficult for a startup to manage with those kind of people. And there are people who are unethical. They will lie on their CV, and many CVs, they have huge number of lies. Even if you catch one lie on a CV, just say bye to that person, because that person is not right for your company. Now, further in people management, how to manage different stakeholders. Outsourced teams can be managed with setting the right key performance indicators, the KPIs. Nowadays, a better version of KPIs is there. It's called OKRs, Objective Key Results. And Google even uses OKRs. So it'll be good if you guys read about OKRs. There's a famous book on OKR. Now, for taking work from outsourced teams, you can keep some clauses in the agreement you have with them. Like, your intellectual property will be protected. They won't disclose your intellectual property to someone else. Like the non-compete clause, they won't have a similar client like yours. Otherwise, they know how you are working, and the other person can copy that. Now, how to manage investors? You have to be very responsible towards the investors. You have to give them regular information, inform them regularly, so that their expectations are managed. The third is lawyers and CAs. Always remember, lawyers and CAs will always try to do a shortcut and not spend proper time for your work. So if you tell a CA, find me a solution to this problem, this CA can actually go back, research, read a lot of things, and come back with the right solution. But you have to push them, and for pushing them, you have to know little bit of their work also. Otherwise, you won't be able to push them. So, CAs and lawyers are very famous. They'll find the right loopholes. Uh, but, usually they don't like to do it. So you have to really, be at them. The last is mentors. You have to listen, understand, and analyze the mentors, but don't take the mentors at face value. Now, somebody told me one day that this guy is a good mentor, you take him. This guy was an investor who had said that. And I referred that mentor to one of the companies. They paid him and they took him. But this guy didn't do anything. So the startup told me, sir, you said guy is good. So I asked the investor. So the investor said that I didn't tell you to take him blindly. I mean, you should have seen what this guy can really do for your company. So, people might refer a lot of mentors, or there can be different type of mentors, but you have to really know whether that person is right fit for you. Make your own decision, right? And always remember, in India, our people are strongly mothered. Mother plays a strong role in our families. So that's why, our psychology is such that we need a lot of love. And at the same time, we need a lot of fear as well to do proper work. So always have a stick and carrot approach. For example, in some of our meetings, we say that if your mobile rings more than 3 times, then the entire team has to be treated with pizza by the person who broke the rule, whose phone rang 3 times. So, these kind of sticks you should have to keep the people disciplined. You need some kind of sticks. For example, if somebody's CV was wrong, what I do many times is I put their CV in front of their desk. And if they are not able to do something which they said they can do as per the CV, I always point them at the CV and I say, buddy, you lied. So those things have to be there. There are two kind of people whose left brain is strong, and the second kind of people whose right brain is strong. The left brain people are logical, and the right brain people are emotional and social. uh, People are usually a mix of these two. So but this will give a good guidance as to how to utilize those people. And always remember, wherever you can automate an activity, use technology, just automate it, don't think much. Now, in another people management, how to find a co-founder. You have to find a co-founder who has the skills which you don't have. Secondly, who has the skills which you want. And thirdly, there should be chemistry between you two, because you will be working together for maybe 5 years or 8 years or 10 years. So that is the ideal co-founder. You can look for co-founders in alumni groups, WhatsApp groups, LinkedIn. Maybe they think differently in terms of problem solving. That is very good, because they are thinking differently than you. So they'll add to the whole productivity. And uh, also, suppose your spouse, your wife is, or a husband is a co-founder, then if you have the discipline of being professional at the job, then that will work. But if you don't have that discipline, usually it doesn't work. And suppose how to decide whether to have hybrid work or offline work or work from home. So people who work better in front of you, like maybe creative people who like to show you what they are creating, maybe it's better to have them in the office. And uh, remote works more when the KPI is well defined, the key performance indicator is well defined, that within this week you have to give me this work, and this is the quality expected with the right metrics. Then, of course, you can have a remote work in them. Now, how to run a productive meeting? Meetings should always be run between less number of people. The lesser number of people in the meeting, the better will be the meeting. Jeff Bezos of Amazon says the total number of people in a meeting should be sufficed for 2 pizzas. If 2 pizzas are enough for those people, it means the number of people is fine. You have to set the agenda in advance, and the founder does not have to speak during the entire meeting. He has to listen to what others are saying, and he has to speak in the end. Otherwise, everyone will think boss has already spoken. So they will not air their views. And always conclude your meeting with actionable CTA, call to action. That, now with this meeting, this is the result we have decided, and these people have to act on this within this time. That is a productive meeting. You have to assign and set deadlines. Now, what are the boxes to check before hiring? For example, hire for attitude and train for skills. If a person has a good attitude, he knows how to research and find and learn and then execute. That person, you has a good attitude. You take that person, maybe you can train him in 1 or 2 months, or maybe 6 months. Then employees should, uh, if all those people whose CV is there for you in front of you, they should be honest and humble. If they have written exactly what they know and what is their weakness, and it matches with the right, what they are saying, it means they have, the right skill. They are honest and humble, and these kind of people are work very well in startups. And they should always have a sense of self-policing, that, we don't have to do this, it is not good for the company, and during the office hours we have to maintain this kind of quorum decorum. So, those kind of things have to be there. Now, the team dynamics, always remember, when a team gets formed, there is an initial phase, and there is lack of clarity. And so everyone is talking to each other, they are discussing and analyzing other people. Then slowly people start to s- try to establish their place in the team. That is the storming phase. Then there is a norming phase where everybody knows that this guy is a leader and this guy's knowledge is very nice. So there is a consensus and agreement between them. Then slowly the clarity comes about individual roles. And the role of the founder is very important in managing this whole process. And last is performing, when there is a alignment with the company's strategy and the shared vision. Now, always remember that this process is not a single process. People leave, new people join, again the forming starts, again the storming starts. So different teams at different point in time are in different stages of forming, storming, norming, and performing. And leader has to lead by example. Apart from salary, if you're giving them ESOPs, which means some shares, which shares get vested uh, in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, when the team member performs, so they get a right on those shares. That's called ESOPs. So you have to motivate them by providing ESOPs as well. And um for example, I remember, in digital marketing, suppose you're hiring a team, this is from our previous discussion, then how to set up the KPI. So for example, um 2.5 lakh worth of sponsored posts are being put on Facebook and Instagram. Then how much return on ad spend should be there, ROAS? So, the company can tell you, if you are spending 2.5 lakhs on sponsored posts, then we will give you 10 lakhs of ROAS, means revenue per month. So this is part of the previous thing. And suppose there are 2 3 founders. Now, how to pick a CEO? Everyone will say, okay, I have 40% stake in the company, I should be the CEO. Actually, the designation does not matter in a startup. So, you work without designations, keep a common designation, and after some time, it will be automatically, everybody will know which guy is suited to take the CEO designation. So, because, those people who believe in work first, they don't go by designations. Now, coming to project management, it's very simple: long-term goals, mid-term goals, then break them to short-term goals, weekly goals, and then day-to-day list. It's kind of giving a method to madness. The softwares which are good for project management for startups are Trello or Slack. Slack is a big one. Now, for startups, these are the different phases. You have to set crisp and clear instructions, identify the right people for the task, break down the task, assign people the tasks, specify deliverables. This has to be done under this time, set deadlines, and then follow up before the deadline. Before the deadline, there has to be a follow up, and then quality check post the deadline. Always remember the golden rule for project management is communication. You have to talk and explain to them like you are talking to your grandmother. Don't take anything for granted. Use easy to easy language and explain them in detail. Don't assume that they know. Always assume they don't know. And that's how you do your communication and you explain them. You can use Gantt charts. Those who are in engineering would have seen Gantt charts. So, some tasks are linked, some tasks are independent. Based on that, a timeline is made that people are assigned. And always remember, whether it's McKinsey, whether it is Bain, whether it is Boston Consulting Group, whether it is a startup which has only 3 employees, whether it is a idea stage startup, always remember follow up is has to be done. Even the CEO of McKinsey every morning follows up and knocks the people, buddy, today's work, and this was yesterday's work. The follow up has to be done no matter which size company, no matter in which country. And if you don't follow these steps, then you'll fall into the wrong practice of micromanaging. Micromanaging is like telling an employee, what time did you wake up today? Oh, okay. What then you did? Why didn't you do this time? Why are you making this diagram like this? That is called micro, which is very irritating. And if you don't follow the rules of project management, then you'll fall into this. And always remember, in a startup, you have to plan for the plan, not going according to the plan. Things will go off, uh, uh, you know, they will fall away, and things will go away from the plan. So you have to give tight deadlines, but in your mind, you have to always know, I have given a 40-day deadline, but I know from inside that this work will get completed in 80 days. But give tight deadlines. That's how startups work. Now, another aspect of how to decide which task to do now or later. So, if it is important and urgent, then you push back, delegate, and outsource. I mean, if it is less important and urgent, you delegate and outsource. If it is important and urgent, high, just do it now. If it is less urgent but very important, then make time for it. Decide, I will do it in this week. And if it is low important and less urgent, don't do it, just drop it. And you have to prioritize what is urgent, important, which one will give you long-term gain, short-term gain, which one is ethical and unethical, and which one will win an argument and which one will break the hearts. Now, for example, 95% startups fail because the founders and the co-founders, they fought. They didn't agree with each other. So uh, so communication is very important, and don't feel like winning arguments. You are not there to win arguments. If your co-founder is saying something else, you are not there to win that argument. Main thing is keep your ego in check. And uh, if you if the culture of winning argument starts, then the work suffers, the startup will go down. There is a project management software. It's called Jira, Jira. That's good for startups. And for example, one ethical versus unethical thing. I'll give an example. Um, that suppose during COVID, the main business of the startup didn't do well, and the startups tried to earn some money from selling COVID healthcare stuff, and in your balance sheet it is showing that the revenue is coming from COVID healthcare stuff, but to the investor you are telling, no, 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 it came from the main business, because maybe you want extra funding from the investor. So that is unethical. And I think what the startup should do is not feel on the back foot that they tried to earn from selling healthcare stuff, but disclose to the investor, yes, we did it for the betterment of the company. So be always on the ethical side. Now you have to think big, start small, grow slow, and then once the systems fall in place, the business plan falls in place, then you grow really fast. Arjuna, uh, when he asked Krishna that what should I do, and Krishna said, always ask for help. You get help only when you ask for it. So don't feel ashamed in asking for help. Just ask for it, and you will be surprised how many people help you out. And go in for the right choice, not for the popular choice. And always remember, although it is a startup, you have less number of people, but human brain cannot multitask. It is wrong for you to expect a person in your team to do three or four or maybe two things at the same time. It is not possible. And nowadays we live in the time of screens. We have so many screens, we have so much of data coming this side, that side. Suddenly a notification comes, and suddenly your attention span breaks up. So it is not easy to work in that kind of an environment. If there are two employees who are fighting with each other and both are important for the company, then what should you do? You should tell them the rules, that this is the rules of the company. If you break this rule, then we will not tolerate it. And I'll give you an example. There is a book by Lincoln, it's called Team of Rivals. So what Lincoln did was, suppose there were three people who wanted to be president in the US, and Lincoln became the president. So the other two, although they didn't become the president, they were his competitors, but they belonged to his own party, and they were talented. So he made them ministers and said, you compete with each other. So this is what Barack Obama did. He made Hillary Clinton as a foreign minister, and she became the most traveled minister in the history of United States, because she really felt like showing that although she lost the presidential election, but she had it. So that is one thing which you can do. Now, if you tell some people, buddy, I'm really sorry, you can't do this. So some people get pumped up. They say, no, we will prove we can do it. But if you hurt them, if you say it wrongly, you can't do this, and you dismiss them, many people will get hurt and they will eventually leave the company. So there are high skill and high will people who have high skill and high will. These people prefer freedom of work. They don't like to be micromanaged, and they don't like to be told what to do. So this is about product management, people management, and project management. I'll just place a funding PPT as well and run it in fast. Dr. Jayashree, are you able to see my funding presentation?
Yes, it's loading. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a presentation which I made on how WhiteHat Junior got funded, and then how they sold the company to Byju's for $300 million. And I really liked this presentation a lot, and the way WhiteHat approached the investors. So you have to create a pitch deck, which is a 15-slide kind of document for the investors. The three pillars of a killer pitch deck. First is company's vision and results. So WhiteHat Junior was into coding for school children, and it was really growing very fast. And its vision was to grow even faster by using investors' money. So the company had the right vision, and it was growing fast, so it had the right results. Then the market opportunity. The coding market for school children was a blue ocean kind of market. Like, it was totally huge. So the market opportunity was huge. and school children were latching on to coding. So the category tailwinds was there. There was tailwinds in the category. And people were starting, after COVID, they were starting to come online to learn. And so online technology was catching up. And so there was tech disruption in the market. The technology was disrupting the offline market. And competitive differentiation was there, that WhiteHat was already leading those companies who were providing coding classes for school students online. And third is the funding ask, which is one of the pillars, which means that how much money you are wanting to from the investor, and how will you use that money uh, to get the results which you are promising to the investor. So that is, unit economics is a part of it, which means that you will not sell your product or service at a loss. You will sell it to make a profit. Those cash flows will come in the company. They will go in the growth, and the investor's valuation will also get benefited. Now, the slide 0 is your personal story. You always remember, if you tell anything to anyone in the form of a story, the other person starts listening more. So all of our religious texts like Mahabharata, they are told stories, case studies. And that's what MBAs also teach, case studies. So your personal story has to be very, very likable. That why did Karan Ahuja of WhiteHat, why did he choose coding? Why did he choose online learning? Why did he choose school children? So, he used to really tell a great story, Karan, that why he chose that particular uh, problem statement. Then the business growth, as I told you, the company was growing 60% already when they started approaching investors. And the company's vision was enabling a generation to create versus consume. Everybody is consuming on the mobile phone 10 hours every day. Everybody is pressing buttons. But you want those children to become creators and not only consumers. So it was a huge, well defined vision. The third was business strategy. So WhiteHat Junior worked on three major strategies: kid delight, parent value, and teacher excellence. And how they did it is given here. Now, customer satisfaction, they used to measure customer satisfaction by these metrics like total number of satisfied customers per total number of responses, engagement rate, total engagement versus total impressions, refund rates, company NPS, net promoter score, and which means percentage of promoters versus percentage of detractors, and customer renewal rates, how many people signed up again, and testimonials. Now, how big is the market? The three terms which everyone is using to define their market is TAM, SAM, and SOM, which is total addressable market, serviceable, addressable, obtainable market, and serviceable, available market. Now, why now is the best time? That every investor will ask you, why should I invest now? Like, I remember India Mart came in 2007, and they used to say we will create an online repository of all the businesses in India, and they didn't pick up that much. But later on, Trade India, Export India, and Amazon and Flipkart came in, and so they were ahead of the market. So sometimes you just don't time the market right. So you have to explain why now is the right time by using all those data from the market. And your tech disruption, we always talk about moats in business. Moats. So anybody of you would have visited a fort in India. They have a water body around the fort. That is called a moat, which prevents the invaders to attack the fort. So we always talk about moats in startups. What are your moats which will not allow your competitors to take away your business? So technology, a robust technology layer was a great moat for WhiteHat Junior. Competitive differentiation. So on a
Tushar, Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, Tushar. Due to the interest of time, we have to wrap
Okay,
up
I'll
the
just
call.
finish it.
Yes,
Sure.
in 2-3 minutes.
Sure. So competitive differentiation is one. Then unit economics, that you have to sell everything in a profit. The growth plan, and last, the funding ask, how much they're asking and how will they use the funds. And of course, the team which will deliver. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tushar, for taking us through the nitty-gritty of startup and how the startup world functions. What are the different things that are needed to be taken into consideration by the founder? How you choose the right co-founder? How do you conduct everyday operations? I'll now open the floor for questions. So, people in the auditorium in both the classes and people on online, please feel free to ask the question to Tushar.
So I think we can take questions from the online audience because students, there are too many students. If you open the floor, then
Yes. Students online. Any questions that you have for Tushar? Any question, guys?
Hello. Uh,
Yeah, Mehul, please go ahead.
hello, Tushar sir. I have a question regarding very early stage startups building pitch deck. So when they are building pitch deck, so defining unit economics at that stage, where the prototype, where the just prototyping is ready and it's about to get POC on the POC stage, how will be the like on the prototyping stage we pitch for pre-incubation and angel. So at that point, if the unit economics is the matrix is not ready, so how to deal with that kind of situations?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you so much, Mr. Ganesh. So basically, the unit economics showcase has to be different for each kind of startup. For example, if it is a fintech company and they are into lending, then they can give the balance sheet of how it will look 1 year later. That this will be their lendings, and this will be the non-performing assets, and give a picture of how will the balance sheet be, and what is their spreads which they are earning, so they are not lending at a loss. And if it is a e-commerce company, then what is the amount they'll be spending on digital marketing, how will it result in revenue, and what will be the picture 1 year later. And if they're already in the same business, then they can of course give the picture of 1 year back as well.
Okay. Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mehul. Thank you.
More questions from the online audience.
Hello. Good evening, sir. Sir, I have a question. Sir, how to look for the problem statements for building a startup or building a company?
So it's a very good question, Abhijit. It is from day to day life. I mean, in India, I mean, suppose you are living in a city like Hyderabad, and there are many lakes in the city which are getting polluted. So naturally, that is not good for the city environment. That is not good for the people. For example, you are seeing a lot of pollution. Then you would want to do something in the renewable energy space. There is a guy, Anand, who calls himself Lake Man, a lake conservationist, and he's reviving the Bangalore's lakes. So he identified the problem statement of the lakes going polluted. And if you are into the electric field space, then you are identifying up. Always pick those problems which are fundamental to human beings. Don't pick a vanity problem that we want to provide a 1 lakh rupee purse. You okay, that is also a space to work on. But the more fundamental the problem you will pick, the more will be the chances of creating a viable business, which will not only find investors but also customers and the right stakeholders. And it is just from looking around you, just observing things, you can find a lot of problem statements.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Tushar, I may have one or two questions.
Yes, Dr. Jayashree.
Yeah, could you talk about the different KPIs that you shared in your presentation? What are the different KPIs used by the startup to measure their performance?
Yeah, sure. So the different KPIs which startups can use is, for example, on the balance side, for a person in the finance team, it can be the total amount of funds raised, whether they are how much of debt is raised, how much of equity is raised, and at what valuation, as in at what interest rate was the debt raised, and for how long it was raised. On the equity side, what was the valuation which was achieved by the team in the round, and they can be KPIs like we don't want more than 5 investors because it is very difficult to deal with a large number of stakeholders. So, how many number of investors were the funds raised from? That is on the P&L side, profit and loss side. It can be that how many new B2B customers came, how many new B2C customers came, what was the average ticket size or the average revenue per user, ARPU, and whether the expense of the company was in the limits as set by the company. For example, in when we talk about unit economics, we have a very famous term which you will see in the media. It is that what was the total number of rupees spent to earn 1 rupee. So, in many startups which are in losses, they are spending 5 rupees to earn 1 rupee. Now, that kind of a business model is not sustainable. So, naturally, you can have KPIs which say that the expenses have to be maintained under a certain ratios. So, you can put those ratios in the KPI. These things.
Yeah. If you don't have any further questions, then we'll close the session. So I'll just wait for 1 or 2 more minutes to see if there are any further questions. People online.
Yeah, hi, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hi.
Yeah, my name is Krishna. So I have one doubt, sir.
So,
So,
yeah.
in these days we have seen like AI is emerging technology. So, how people are looking at these technology to come up with any startup like? So, what are the expectation of the people?
That's also a very good question, Krishna. So, see, we talked about that if something can be automated, you should definitely automate it and not keep a person for that, right? Now, look at the number of jobs which are decreasing in the market because of automation. You will see that all the routine things for which you used to keep personal assistants, clerks, you used to keep copywriters, content creators, they are slowly reducing because chat gpt is there. I was sitting with the founder of Startup News, FII, Madhur, 2 days back, and he was saying, Tushar, I have retrenched my entire content management team, and now the entire work is done by chat gpt-4. So it creates the news pointers, then it rephrases them, then it creates a picture which is a representative picture of the post, then it creates a video of that content,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then it also after putting on YouTube, it tells you how to make it viral. So that kind of automation which AI has come in. You can see Nvidia, which is the semiconductor company in AI space, it has become the seventh company after the top six whose valuation is more than $1 trillion. For example, Amazon, Google, Netflix, uh, and uh, Amazon, Apple. So all these Tesla, all these companies have at one point in time had more than $1 trillion valuation, and today Nvidia has more than $1 trillion valuation. Why? Why? Because of AI. And you look at OpenAI. It's the current round valuation of OpenAI is $86 billion. It is a private company having a valuation of $86 billion, and the revenue is growing 300%. Why? Because it is into the AI space, and everybody is using Chat GPT to automate all the routine processes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Tushar, we have one last question from the student in the auditorium. I'll ask him
Sure.
to.
Hello, sir. So I am Arjit from AI department in IIT Hyderabad. So I have a question that when people get graduated from their engineering colleges, a lot of people don't get hired by companies and startups. So the question is there a more demand of engineers or tech people, or the supply, like is there a demand and supply question is there? Like, is there a need of more skilled employees and there are not there, or there are a lot of people who have the skill, but the need is not that much?
So, I mean, it's a very good question. See, India, what is happening is that, a lot of people are actually moving from having jobs to creating their own entrepreneurship, to doing their own entrepreneurship. And one of the reasons is they are also not able to find jobs. But, the problem is not as acute as it is acute in the US. And in China, the unemployment rate right now is 20%, after which they stopped publishing the unemployment data. My sense is, recently, the top 7 companies which I just told you, Amazon, Apple, Google, Tesla, if you just leave out Apple, the others retrenched 80,000 people, Facebook, Meta. So if the top companies are retrenching people, then it is not a healthy sign for. Actually, what is happening is there is a funding winter going on in the US since the last 1.5 years. Well, because of that, the availability of cheap money and cheap investment has gone down, and because a lot of these companies were running on availability of easy money, that is the problem which is getting created, and stock markets are also down. What happens is when stock markets are down and real estate is down like it is in the US, then the companies stop investing. And when they stop investing, then the flow of money from dollars to emerging economies also goes down. So that is a problem. It is an economics problem. It is not a company specific problem.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If you don't have any further questions,
I have one quick question. Can I
yeah,
ask?
please, Pratap, go ahead.
Mr. Tushar, currently, what are investors, looking for, from the team? Is it the MVP product or just the idea? Because just like how you stated, there's a funding winter going on at the moment, right? That's the current narrative. So, are still investors looking for the idea, or are they totally only fine with the team having an MVP with them? Like, are they okay with the ideas?
Well, if you ask me frankly, 80% of them are investing after PMF, product market fit, which means that after the MVP, after the minimum viable product, you have also started selling the product, and you have found some investors and shown that this product has a market. And after you have the revenue, which means that your distributors are set up, your online channel is set up, your digital marketing is set up, your teams are set up, then the investor says, 80% of the investor says, I will put in my money, it will go into marketing, it will result in more customers, the revenue will increase, and hence the valuation of the company will increase, and hence I will get an exit in 4 to 5 years. So 80% of them are investing after PMF, product market fit.
Got it. Thank you.
Any last question?
Just one last question, ma'am. Yes. Sir, how do you think for an early stage startup, the equity should be divided between 2 people? How much should be kept for investors? How much should be divided between the 2 people?
Suppose there is one founder. Now the investor does not like solo founder companies because this founder, if it, I remember there was an agri-tech startup in which Infraco Asia had invested $15 million, and there was a single founder. Now what happened was the single founder was not giving proper compliance to Infraco Asia, and Infraco had funds from World Bank and all, so it was very government kind of fund. So naturally, their compliances were very high. You give us this document, that document, you give us this analysis, cash flow report every month. So this founder got upset. He said, I won't give so many compliances. I have, my time is there to do the business. It is not there to meet your compliances all the time. So they fought with each other. And the founder was thrown out. And once the founder was thrown out, the company went down. Because, whenever the founder leaves the companies usually go down, because the founder has set the processes, he has the relationships, he knows the pricing, he knows the contracts. So single founder companies are not liked. If there are two, suppose a founder has to bring in a co-founder, he can offer 30 to 33, 35% equity. If there are two co-founders and one founder, then the main founder can have 45% equity, the second founder can have 30% equity, and the third co-founder can have 25% equity. Now, if the company is already mature, then you don't need to give so much equity. Even if you give 10 to 15% equity, anybody will be happy to become a co-founder. So a lot of people who are really performing well, like Mr. Krishnamurthy, the CEO of Flipkart, he was earlier a team member. He was really managing a large part of the company. So they made him the CEO and they gave him some equity. So that is the case.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
I'd like to close the session now. Thank you so much, Tushar, for taking time out from your busy schedule and interacting with our students and enlightening them with all the insights from your experience in this startup.
My pleasure.
I'll also request students, if you want to get connected with Tushar, so you can reach out to him. He's active on LinkedIn as well.